my mother was a guitar player, and she had an old guitar stashed up in the attic. And one Saturday, she got the guitar down and took me to town, and it was called Buell Music. It was downstairs underneath the Burnett jewelry store, right on Hewitt and Rockefeller, whatever. And so the guitar teacher, his name was Mel Odegaard. And Mel was also an accordion player. Was his main instrument. So he says, well, I'll teach you some chords on the guitar, and then you can sing the melody. Well, I was 12 years old, and there was no way I was going to sing. I was so bashful, you know. So he says, well, then why don't you trade the guitar in on an accordion? Because then you can play the melody on one side and chord on the other, and you won't have to sing. And I says, that's a good deal. That's for me. So that's how come I started taking the accordion. And of course, I had a little accordion first, and then when I got to the big 120 bass, you know, at 12 years old, they're monstrous. And I would have to take it to town. We lived in 33rd and Rockefeller. I had to take it to town in a wagon. Got a red wagon, and I drugged that thing to town back and forth. I'll never forget, there was a young guy, he was in about 25, I guess, sitting on his porch. And I was dragging this accordion home at that time, after my lesson. And he said, what do you got in that big box in that wagon? I said, that's an accordion. He says, well, why don't you play me a tune? And right out there on the street, I got the accordion out and sat in the wagon and played the guy a tune. I don't even know who he was, but that was my first public appearance. Of course, there was only the one channel. King was the only channel. And so they were looking for things. They had Clifford and Clark were an organ and a piano duo, and they were sponsored by Sherman and Clay, and they'd play music for a half hour. And then Tom Herbert would do a charade program for about a half hour, and they were looking for things. So Lee Shulman, who was the program director, came out to the university, and we had a club out there. It was called Club Encore, and it was kids that were working their way through college, playing, entertaining, and so on, singers, dancers, musician, whatever. And they auditioned several of us, and we put on a half-hour show. When it was over, they asked Art Bardoon, a piano player, who was also at the university student, and myself, if we would like to have our own little 15-minute show. We had the variety show first, evening variety show. It was called Two Bees at the Keys for Boreson and Bardoon. And then Art added his trio, and then we'd have guest singers. And then Art Bardoon wanted to go to Las Vegas with his trio, and he did. He was down there at the Last Frontier for a long time. And so Lee Shulman asked me if I would like to go on the air and have a children's show. And we didn't have any idea of what kind of a children's show, so we'd had some meetings, you know, what kind of a children's show should we have? Wanda was down there then doing her show, and Sheriff Tex was on with a Western theme. And so we got to thinking, all kids like a clubhouse on the back lot. And so why don't we have a back lot clubhouse? And then, of course, we'd have to have a mascot. So, you know, kids love contests. So first we had a contest, what kind of a mascot should we have, you know, and it came in everything from boa constrictors to elephants and everything. But we settled on a dog. And we got thousands of letters then to name the dog. And that was at the time of the slow motion boats, you know, Stan Sayre's hydroplanes, the slow motions. Well, all these just trite names came in. Finally, a little girl sent in a name, No Motion, as a play on words for the slow motion boats. And that really caught our eye. So she won the bicycle.
She's got so many hats, it's hard to tell which one. Hi, Mick. Tall ones, thin ones, fat ones, wide ones, beanies, and talk about the tall ones' hats. She can change her hat and she gets the left. Big cheap hats, you will find that there isn't a greater gift. Why don't you change your chapeau? Why not a lily dog shade? Why, she ought to get a new hat today, right away. She he ought to get a new hat today. Oh, are you planning to go skiing over the week? There's not much snow up there.
I never pretended to be anybody else. I just dressed in a sport coat and didn't have any real gimmicks, and tried to just act natural and talk one-on-one to the kids and not talk down to them or anything. I just tried to be myself. And then, of course, you have to develop characters.
I planned to go skiing over the weekend, and I would like to tune in for a little bit here. I think I will do that, and I will see how the weather is going. Let's get the weather report.
Why don't you?
Why don't I see if that guy is in there? That fella with the drawing stuff, that tells me all the things. There's a 90% chance that he won't be out tomorrow. But he will. I got a bet with Axel down at the Weather Bureau, and he said it's going to be all right with him, and it's going to happen too. Now, all you little tugboats out there in the fjords, head for Stockholm, because we're going to have a great big lutefisk fry tonight. 48 on the black.
Elliot Brown was the organist for Wunda Wunda, and that was something else that we needed. And the clubhouse needed a song, a sort of a password song to get into the meeting, in your clubhouse on the back lot. So he came up with this song, Zero Dacus, Mucho Crocus, Hallabalooza Bub. That's the secret password that we used down at the club. Zero Dacus, Mucho Crocus, Hallabalooza Fan means now you are a member of King's TV Club with Stan. And he wrote that, and it's kind of like an Italian tarantella. My favorite part of the show was the Swedish Answer Man, because I would dress up in a wig and a hat and glasses and an old ratty coat, and we would just let our hair down, and then we'd come up with all these terrible questions,
I are the Swedish Answer Man, who knows all and sees all and can't keep my big mouth shut about any of it. And here comes in the question to me from Della Catessa of Sweet Pickle, Pennsylvania. She says, can you tell me who wrote The Prisoner of Zenda? Well, nobody wrote The Prisoner of Zenda. He wasn't allowed to receive mail while he was in prison. I threw that in for Al. Here comes one in from Hank Kirchhoff of Runny Nose, Nebraska. He says, I'm planning to move to the state of Washington. What product is raised most in the state of Washington? Umbrellas is the one that we raise the most on.
During the World's Fair, we broadcast for 6 months from the fairgrounds. And that was, Jerry Sando at the time was Space Nick. We had to create a character from outer space to fit with the theme of the fair. So Jerry Sando had a different costume, and we called him Space Nick. I just always kind of inferred, in a way, to be good kids, and obey your parents and try and be polite and so on. I think that was the underlying thing that I tried to get across to the kids each day through music or whatever, Just be good kids.
And Doug, this is Doug Setterberg, who does Phineas and Foghorn and Hey You, and Hey You the most. And Nomo is very tired. She's 13. So we're going to go home and take a little rest. And thanks again, and be good kids. Zero Dr. Pooch, Crockett, Hallabalooza Bub. That's the secret password that's we use down at the club. Zero Dr. Pooch, Crockett, Hallabalooza Fan. Now you are a member of TV Club with Stan. Bye, gang.